Welcome to the Women Abroad podcast. I'm your host, Lizet Esquivel. This show is part of the section Women Who Inspire, where you will learn stories and experiences of successful female expats from all over the world. They will share with us the secrets that nobody is willing to tell you about living overseas. Welcome to another episode of Women Abroad. My name is Lizet Esquivel, global editor at Welum.com, and today we're going to travel to England with this amazing woman is Debora Luzi. She's Italian, living in England for 26 years. She's a word lover, passionate about teaching entrepreneurs how to turn their words into sales and impact millions. She's the founder of the only online community focused on content creation for entrepreneurs, the Writing Academy for Entrepreneurs, with members from all over the globe. Debora is also the founder of the Women Who Dare to Desire Conference, a center stage for visionary women who are ready to inspire the world with their message and story. Debora, thank you very much for being here today with us.
Thank you, Lizet, for having me. And, thank you. Welcome everybody that is going to watch us. Really, really great to have you. And yeah, excited. I'm like, sometimes it's like, am I a woman abroad? Yes, I am.
You're an expat. And tell us your story. You're Italian, but you live in England. Why? Why did you decide to move?
It was, if I go back to that moment, Lizet, I was about 19 and I finished studying like bookkeeping. And I remember my dad arranged an interview for me to work in a bank because, you could start with the bookkeeping degree that I had. And I remember going to the interview and I had a piercing. We're talking about 26 years ago in a small village in Italy. I had a piercing and I was just slouching on the chair. I was like not interested at all. And I remember the man said, "Your dad wants the job, not you, right?" And I said, "Yes." And then, so he didn't give it to me. And obviously my dad was quite upset. And then a friend of mine, she said, "Oh, Deborah, I'm going to be an au pair in London." And I was like, "Oh, I think I want to go." I just had this idea of traveling. And that's when I decided to come to London and work as an au pair, Lizet. But because my family didn't have the money to send me, so I couldn't come straight away. I had to work in a factory for 3 months before I could buy my flight. Can you believe it?
Wow.
And it was, at the time, it was 360,000 lira. The flight, with 26 years ago, it was like 120 pounds, so $170. So I had to work to get the money and to have some money when I came. So yeah, it was a bit of an experience.
And just like that, you just move and you stay there in England.
No, that's like a lot. I mean, I came, the funny things, Lizette, is that I had a boyfriend when I left Italy, and he went in the army, and I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna go to England for 3 months. I'm gonna learn the language, and then I see you when I come back. And then 3 months became 6, and then they became 9, and then they became 2 years. And then, I came as an au pair, and then I had a bit of a bad experience. So I moved from the family straight away, and then I did all sort of job, Lizette, from, bartender, waitressing, and, lots of different things. And there is so much to the story. Like, it's quite fascinating because at one stage I actually said goodbye to my friend. I said, I'm going to go back to Italy. I'm going to close the account. We did a party. And I was in Italy like this. I'm like, I felt a fish out of water. I went back. I think I lasted 1 month. And I was like, I need to go back. So I came back to England, and then I've been here ever since. I mean, I've done lots of traveling around the world. I use England as a base. So I traveled to like 55 countries all over the world.
Wow,
So
impressive. Just for fun, or also the trips are for work.
so it was like I was a backpacker, like, really like kind of a hippie girl, wanted to know the world and wanted to rebel from everything. So I did a lot of traveling. So I used to work and then get the money and travel, because, when you travel to many like Asia, or you can live with very little.
Mm.
But I traveled in South America for 1 year, and I worked. I traveled in Israel and in the Middle East, and I worked in some country. So like I worked to get to the next country, if that makes sense. So
Wow.
I've done
Yeah, I
that.
understand. Wow.
Yeah, so I did a lot of different things. I did from peeling potato, teaching salsa, Spanish, English, name.
Wow.
I was a tour guide. I was making jewelry. I was picking avocado. I've done everything.
Hundreds of different jobs. Oh my gosh. A lot of experience in different things.
Yeah,
Wow.
completely.
Well,
Yeah, quite
but
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine. And when talking about England, what stereotypes did you face for being Italian living in England?
That's a good question. Okay. So, as you know, Italian people, we are very touchy. We're very loud. We're very, here, hug. And we're kind of like that. And obviously, when I came to such a big, I mean, I'm in London. So it's not that I am on the countryside of England. London is a cosmopolitan city. And, while in Italy, my neighbor would check all of my steps, and she would check how I get dressed. Here, nobody cares. So, it was really difficult for me I kind of had to distance myself a little bit from people at the beginning, because I found that my friendliness was misunderstood. It was seen many times, sometimes as naive. It was seen as, like, hold on a second, give me my space. So I don't know, I felt at the beginning that I was too much, in people's face, and, hugging, and, like all of that. And then I realized, of course, English people are different. Plus, we live in a cosmopolitan city where, you don't even know your neighbor. In Italy, I knock the door of my neighbor. I said, "Can you give me some tomato sauce?" Do you know what I mean? And here, everybody closed the door, and, like, that's it. So that was really, really challenging for me at the beginning. And I felt that I had to lower down, like how do you say, lower down a little bit of my personality, if that makes sense.
Yes.
um, and become almost distant from things and from people. So that was a little bit difficult, like, something in Italy, like we hug, and, when you speak to people, you touch their arm, you touch their legs. And I'm like, no, here, I mean, if you touch somebody's arms and leg, they think, God, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I left Italy, I was 18, and obviously I was naive, I was excited. And so I would say that was kind of the biggest challenge. And also, I couldn't find my way, if that makes sense. um, like, I made a lot of friends, but, English, I couldn't really get the gist of the language. um, it's like, I don't know, it was like a little bit difficult at the beginning. And yeah, and the funny things, Lizette, is that all the friends that I had actually went back to their country, and I'm one of the only one that stayed.
Wow. So you're no friend. Well, I guess you have friends from other nationalities because in England it's a hundred of people from different countries, but So I know they are very cold as people, you know, it's not Italian. I think it's very similar to Latino people that we are very,
Yeah.
you know, very, you know, we make loud, all the stuff. But in England, the people is very serious and kind of cold. Of course, not everybody, but it's very common that they're that way.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's a different way of approaching things, which is like, you know, like they're very you know, straight to the point, and you know, they're like they don't let you in, if that makes sense. You know, it takes a little bit of time. um but yeah, and also again, I think the English people that are in London, it's completely different from the other, like when you go in the countryside, for example, it's completely different. People are much warmer, you know, people are different. But you know, in a city, I think that's the thing as well, you know.
Okay, so this is the challenge, but I was thinking about the stereotypes. You know, she's Italian, she just eats pizza. She's Italian,
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you respond the other question, the challenge. It's okay, but I was thinking also about the stereotypes for your
Yeah,
nationality. Mm-hmm.
I think, you know what? That's a very good, like, I think I created more the stereotype myself, if that makes sense. Like, I was creating and I was like, oh my God, because I'm Italian and things like that. But actually, let me think, if, did I get some stereotype? Um, a
Oh,
little
Italian
bit.
are very romantic, you know. So everybody,
Yeah.
maybe she's very romantic, kissing, all this. You know, the men who are Italian are famous because they're very romantic. All these kind of stereotypes that people
Oh, no, no, no.
know.
Yes, completely, Lisa. I think what it was actually, if I'm thinking about the stereotype, it was, there was one actually. There is one, and it's a bit funny. I don't know. People have this idea that Italian women were complicated.
Mm.
That was the stereotype, you know. Like, I don't know. I would go. I mean, meet some people, you know, men and things, and it was like, oh, Italian women, you know, they're beautiful, but they're just too much hard work, too complicated. And I was like, really? You know, I don't know. I just felt like that. And then, of course, the stereotype that, you know, we dress very well and we care about. So, you know, wherever you go, and I love to dress well because my mom, she sew for Armani. So I grew up in fashion magazine and all these kind of things. So there was always that expectation, you know, Italian, you know, you know fashion, and you dress very well, and you elegant and all these kind of things. So I think I was put into this kind of two categories: the complicated woman, and also the fashion one, you know, like the really cool, dressed all the time, and kind of this kind of two things there.
And for example, comparing the people from England and from Italy, do you think that women are more because both are capitals of fashion, talking Milan in Italy and London in the case of England. But do you think that women in Italy are more elegant or have a better style than people in England, according to your experience? What did you
It's not
see?
about a, yeah, it's not about a better style. I mean, no, I'm always in between. And I'm always in between because in Italy we like to dress well, you know, and it's like, you know, for us it's important. But then it gets to a stage, Lizette, when it's a bit too much. It's like, for me, it's like, oh my God, you know, it's like you need to go out in a certain way and you need to that. And the English, I think the English are more free, and they are more, I don't know the way I say it, I don't see like rebels, but they're free with the fashion. They don't care as much as in Italy, right? Because I see them more as a free spirit. But then I think that, you know, they would like to maybe dress in a certain way, you know, and be in a certain way. But definitely there is a difference. There is a difference. Like, you know, even when you go in an office and people, you will notice the difference. Like, you go to an English office and there is English people, and then you go to an Italian office and there is English men, like Italian men, you see the difference. like the way they dress and the way they think. And again, there is beauty in both. And I am a kind of in between, because I think it is important, to dress in a certain way and to look after yourself. But at the same time, I remember my mom, and remember she used to be a tailor for Armani. She used to come and she said to me, Deborah, I love England and London because I can get out of the house with the pink shoes and a yellow shoes, and nobody's going to tell me anything. But in Italy, you go out like that and people are going to go like,
Oh my gosh.
she
Well,
lost, she lost it. So that's what I love about here is the freedom that they
it's the
have.
same than the States. For example, in Mexico, we're not capital of fashion where I live, but here the people is very, oh my gosh, people try to look good all the time. It doesn't
Really?
matter the class. If you are poor, rich, no. Mexico will love to look good, And you go to the United States, the people are in pajamas. They are not, the hair's a mess, and they are very happy. Nobody cares. So it's amazing to feel the freedom.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand.
It is, and that's, but I am in between. I think it's very important because it's nice to have the freedom, but I like to look after myself. I came and I got my nails and my lipstick, and, it's important for me. It makes me feel good because, again, I grew up in fashion. So it is important, absolutely.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's also part of your DNA as an
yeah.
Italian. It's in the DNA of you. And tell us more about your companies. You have two companies. One is about the content creation, and the other is about a conference. Tell us a little bit about each project.
So basically, I have the Writing Academy for Entrepreneurs, which is a private community which I created about 2.5 years ago, because I realized that I was showing up on social media a lot. I was writing, content, and people were really attracted to my content. People would comment on it. And obviously, I didn't have money for a copywriter, and I didn't have money for somebody to spell, check spelling my things. So I really started to understand, and, I always loved writing. I used to write since I was a child. So I wrote a book that was stolen once, so I never published it. I used to write endless diaries, so I always understood the importance of words. So I created this amazing community where I teach entrepreneurs how to write content from intuition, heart, and we mix it with a little bit of strategies. So we look about showing up in a very authentic way, in a fun way, because a lot of people, Lizette, struggle to create content daily. They're like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? Mary said that yesterday. Oh, but maybe Josephine, she's going to judge me for that. So we are so much in our head when we write content, and we write and then we read it back and we go like, no, that doesn't sound good. Not that, I'm going to take it out. So whatever came from our creation, brain, intuition, we strip it off, and like it becomes a piece of really lifeless content. So I'm really helping people to connect to that genius, writing genius that they have inside themselves, because we all have it, Lizette. We all
I
have
guess
it.
most of people, or the people who are really interested, they can do great things. Maybe each
Yeah.
one according to their expertise or something.
Absolutely, because, I always say this. In Italy, we have a saying, we say parla come mangia, which means speak as you eat. So I add speak and write as you eat. If you can speak, like now we're having a conversation, and we can have a conversation with everybody. So you just take that conversation and you put it into a piece of paper. But the moment we put it into a piece of paper, people go like, So yeah, that's one of the things. And the other things I do, Lizette, is I organize women conference all over the world. Obviously, I'm stopped at the moment. We We canceled Rome, we canceled London. So it was very sad, but I created a stage for women to share their story, like a platform, because a lot of women struggles because they haven't been on TEDx, they haven't spoken next to, Tony Robbins, they don't have the money to invest. So I created this platform for absolutely any woman, that even the one that has never spoken before. And in fact, in my conferences, many women have never spoken before, Lizette. They're going on stage with shaking, right? So it's just a beautiful experience. Plus, I used to act when I was younger. So my conferences are like a show, like the showman, the greatest showman. That's the kind of what my conferences looks like, with lots of
But
fun.
your conference is about you invite women to speak up about their personal stories, and the other
Yes.
just listen to. But you give them a piece of advice, or kind of coaching, kind of Tommy
No,
Robbins,
no,
but or how it's the difference?
no. So the conference, the Women Who Dare to Desire conference is like, it's a showcase of women that wants to inspire, change the world with their stories. So we have women that we choose, and they apply, that they share their story, and the story needs to be a story dare to desire. That means a story where there is no pitching but women gets clients more than anything else, because they share their story, and then people are starting to get attracted to them. They're like, oh my God, I resonate, because they build that connection. So they go on stage, we have women speaking, we have the speaker lottery. So people from the audience are picked to come on stage and speak. We have performances, we have art, we have healing, we have, we got like singers, we got dancers. So it is a true showcase, Lizette. It's like, it's a show. And you come out of that conference, you feel like not even on top of the world, on top of the universe. It's like
So it's a
insane.
mix of stories, but you offer some shows, music. So a mix of art and public speaking about
Yes.
your true self. Your story and painful stories, all the stuff.
Yeah, and we engage the audience as well. That's the amazing things. We engage the audience. So it's not that, you go to a conference and you're sitting down and you hear speaker after speaker, and then they pitch you, and it's like, run to the table and get my $100 things, and pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch, and the audience is just sitting there. But we are involving the audience. We bring the audience, everybody on stage. We had nearly 100 drums the last time, and we had
Wow.
all the women coming on stage and drumming, like, it was just insane. It was incredible.
And how much, or if you can give us the fee, at least a range of fee for you travel around the world to offer this face to face, well, live, but how much for the people
So
pay for attending?
yeah, so the entrance ticket, on like, they go when it's early bird, they go from about 60, 70 pound to 90 pound. So it's about 100. It's very reasonable for all that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For one
It's
day, it's one day.
yeah, yeah. So for the show, and then you get, all the thing, and then the speakers, they have to pay, because I'm advertising them, I'm providing the platform, and to speak is not really much. It's around $250.
Reasonable price.
Yeah,
It's a win to win. It's a win-win.
yeah, $200 at the moment. Of course, but again, I always want it to be affordable. I don't want to put a fee of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, because I want to give an opportunity to everybody. But obviously, I do speaker training. So when they do the conference, I give the speaker training. I give them a platform. I make them visible. We go into podcast, and they are in. There's like a lot of things, and a lot of women get clients on the stage. I'm telling you. So without selling.
Yeah, it's a very a different way to advertise yourself. You know, it's like a very different business model. Congratulations, very interesting.
Thank
In the end, you can send me the information and I will post it on Spotify in the case people are interested to know more, get to know you. Well, with your social media, we publish that in Spotify. And
you.
okay, let's
The,
talk. Oh, you want to say something?
no,
Go
no, no.
ahead.
I just want to say, obviously, the conferences now are on hold, so all the application is on hold. So I don't have like because we're hoping to have the next conference in London in October, and then next year we're going hopefully to Rome and Los Angeles if everything is allowed and if everything goes well. But at the moment the conferences are on hold, so I'm
Yeah,
focusing.
because online, I think it doesn't make sense for
No,
you. No.
my conferences cannot go online. My writing is online, but my conferences, I just cannot do the conference online. It's just I refuse. I really refuse.
Yeah, because it's very personal
Yeah.
and it's not the same engagement, you know, it's not the same engage for people engagement. It's complicated for them,
Yeah.
especially because it's something very personal. And I have noticed that people feel afraid of speaking in Zoom. It's like, I don't know, it's something about Zoom or any platform that people feel unsafe.
Mm.
I think
Yeah. So I
it's
mean, for me, it's all a matter of energy, really, because we dance, we hug, we have experiences, we live, we laugh, we cry, and it's just, yeah, you need to be there.
I can imagine. Well, let's hope for the best, and
Yes.
and maybe someday you come to Mexico too, not only
Yeah,
in the
why not?
USA. Think about it.
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely. Let's go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe Mexico City could be a good option for you, and not only Los Angeles. When you come to Los Angeles, it's very close. Okay, let's talk about the culture, the work culture in England and Italy. Well, maybe you arrived England very young, but maybe you have experience because you have worked with people from different places. What's the difference between the work culture in England and Italy?
I mean, there is quite a few. I haven't worked much in Italy, but there is something that I can say. Actually, yeah, there is a few things that I want to say. First of all, the work culture in Italy is you get a job when you are highly qualified. There is no much jumping the ladder, if that makes sense. So you enter as an employer, you stay an employer. Um, so there is not a lot of opportunities, like for example in England, right? And in
Mhm.
Italy, at 35 years old, you're already old. It's like if you don't have a job, you feel that you're old, right? So this is something like, I mean, when I go to my village, there is a woman that she's at the post office and she's still there, Lizette, since like from when I left, and I left 26 years ago, and she's
Oof.
like about to retire. So people are really stuck in a job. They don't go and look for, they feel like there is no many opportunity to, like, if you start somewhere, so the company will not tell you, okay, so we have a managerial position, let's like advertise it internally, we get the people. No, they go and look for the one that graduated from university to get a managerial, but instead of promoting the internal people, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
oh,
this is
terrible.
really, yeah, this is really, I mean, this is what I experienced. So again, it could be a people different experience. But in England, what I absolutely love about this country is the opportunity that this country has given me. It's out of this world. It's like, in here, I have not studied university. I haven't gone to university, Lizette. And I have done job that people at university do. Like I had marketing and events manager. you know, I was like, I climbed the ladder to become from a very like low position. I became a marketing manager, and I was given the opportunity. I was trained on the job, and I was against people that had actually come out of university. In Italy, the person from the university would have got the job straight away, closed eyes. I said, you? No way. So by here, I've learned and in many jobs that I've done, I worked as well as a photographer, because I told you I've done lots of different things.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Same things, Lizette. I started repairing picture. And then I asked, can I learn? I stayed late. In about 4 years, I became the manager of the digital department of the company. And I didn't have a like really high qualification in photography.
But your
But
experience, based on your effort and all the
yes,
good results, they value
exactly.
your experience. Wow.
And this is what I think, this is what this country sees. This country sees the person, the experience more than the degree. And I think this in Italy, everything is about, you know, the appearance, if we want to call it. So the diploma is an appearance. And I remember when I went back to Italy, I used to hitchhike because, you know, like I remember when I was still young and I went back to Italy and I hitchhiked, and this man picked me up, and I was already living in England. And I said, oh, you live in England? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, so you must speak English very well. And I said, yeah. And he said, did you do linguistic university? I said, no. And he said to me that he has an international company, so they sell tiles, bathroom to the world, around the world. And he employed a woman that finished a degree in linguistic. And when she put her on the phone, she couldn't speak. Like she
Oh my
couldn't,
gosh.
like she was blocked, you know, like she wasn't fluent. And he said to me, you could probably do the job better than her. But this is what in Italy people are looking at the qualification, because again, it's another layer of appearance. It's like, oh, she's got a degree, then she's better. While this country puts you on the same level. You can apply, like you are put at the same level of people that have done master degrees. And this is my experience again.
Yeah.
You know,
We know, and this
yeah,
is personal, your own experience, but
yeah, exactly.
give us an idea about the culture. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what this country, what I love about this country. And the other things about the work culture that you mentioned, in Italy, you stay to a job, you stick to a job at 40. If you want to change career, I mean, people are like, what, are you mentor? But in here, you have the freedom to reinvent yourself. And I remember I went to a library once. It was a library, I went with my son, my first son. And we went to this library, and this woman, you know, we got the book, and this woman was all like kind of shaking. And I said something in Italian to my son, and she was like, oh, you're Italian. And she said to me, oh, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous because it's my first day at work. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And she looked past 60, like, you know, age.
60. Wow.
Yeah. And we started talking. And she got a job in the library. She was 59 years old.
At 60. Oh my gosh. In other countries, for example, in Mexico, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
At 40,
And
you are done. You are done. Like the
yeah.
same in Italy. Yeah, just like that. I understand what you're saying.
So, I mean, here, like, they don't see, like, this is what I love about England. They see the person more than the appearance and the qualification. And like, I have an hunger, I say, hunger to learn, you know, and people saw that in me. So they gave me the chance. They gave me the chance next to people that had degrees. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they saw something in me, and they gave it to me. In Italy, I wouldn't have stand a chance to get any job if I didn't have a degree.
And you make
So
more money in England, by the way,
yeah, I mean,
because it's pounds, not euros.
yeah, it's bound, but
So
this is the thing. This is the thing. So I absolutely, this country has given me a lot, Lisette, a lot.
amazing. Yeah, it's like your new home. It's better. You feel more love than your than Italy. That is your country, but well, it happens all the time. That kind of
Yeah,
situations, you know. And do you think that England is a country where there is diversity, inclusion, well-being for the people?
you know, sometimes like when I came to this country, obviously in Italy, when I left, there wasn't much inclusion. We we saw people from other countries, and this is like how I grew up. Like we looked at them like, oh my God, they're like extra communitary or people from other countries. So I grew up with kind of that look, and even though I remember my dad always opened the door. Once we had a man knocking, it was another Krishna, and my dad invited him in, and we used to have conversation in the people in the beach with people that from other countries, they sell jewelry and things. So I was always a little bit open, to other countries, but I grew up in a country where there was only Italians. Especially in my village, it was really difficult to see a person of another color or another race. So when I came to this country, I was like, wow, this is incredible. I felt, like with my kind of naive eyes, I was like, wow, this country is very inclusive. They do include people and things like that. And then once, obviously, because I compare it to Italy, the Italy is not as inclusive as London, England, right? But then, of course, as you are living, you realize that it's not always inclusive. There is not always diversity. But definitely, also because maybe I don't see myself, I mean, I am an immigrant as well, right? But I never felt, I think only once actually when I I remember giving a leaflet to a woman at like for the conference. I was outside the underground. And I remember giving a leaflet to a woman, and she was a little bit rude. And I said to her, really in a smiling something. And she gave the leaflet back. And she said, first learn to speak English, and then you give me the leaflet, otherwise go back to your country.
Oh my gosh,
That was
rude.
that was the only time that I felt not accepted. But England is, they do, like, for example, the place where I used to work, there was a lot of like my manager was from another like from from the east. So all the people like working, they were from other countries. The same law applied for everybody. Everybody was treated the same. I felt that, that it was really inclusive. But now, I see with a different eyes. So it's like something that I think, but like, for example, I haven't lived in the United States, but sometimes I think, in my point of view, that England is a bit more inclusive than maybe the United States, in that way. I think,
Less discrimination, maybe.
yeah, I mean, it could be all apparent, like on the surface, because that is some of my friends, like of colors and things, we don't know what they experience. But sometimes when you think you see Deborah, but it's in the surface, right? But there is definitely a little bit more of inclusion, I believe, and we are definitely going, in the right direction, because company, they now have policy of inclusion, like, it's not like in Italy. Here you see people from any race having, being of any position, if that makes sense. In Italy, we don't have that yet. I
It's
remember,
more
like,
traditional, some
yeah, I mean, I remember,
traditional style. Mhm.
yeah, I remember speaking to like a lady like quite a while back, and again, she came from Italy. She came from a small village, and it was like, oh, because in Italy, like, you see people that have high jobs, like Italian, so they're white. And I remember she came here and she went to a solicitor or something, and it was a black solicitor, and she said, oh, um, yeah, and she kind of remarked that, as to say, and I was like, yeah, this is how it is. This is the country because this is how it should be. But she kind of make that remark, um, because in Italy, it's different. There's not as much inclusion as there is here. So people come here and they find it strange. But yeah.
Totally different. Now let's talk about some basics. For example, we know that there are not a lot of options of food in England. They are not famous for the, for the for the food. As France or Italy, there are the, Italy's, oh my gosh. But you, England, no, but tell us some 2 or 3 traditional dishes that you must eat when you go to England.
Okay, so I worked in a British restaurant for quite a while, and I didn't know that actually the English has a lot of really great cooking, but you just don't see it. It just doesn't happen. It's like, because all about like English food, it's the English breakfast, fish and chips, and
Fish and chips,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. But when you actually go into a British restaurant, and I used to work in a British restaurant, you got the beef Wellington, which is absolutely amazing, which is like, a piece of massive, beef with the pastry outside, with a little bit of, I don't particularly like gravy, but beef Wellington is absolutely amazing. And then they have the pork belly, they have, they put like cranberry sauce, all this type of, like in Italy, we don't put fruit in meat. But here they put like cranberry sauce in meat, they put different things, apple sauce. So that's very curious, and I really like this combination. So I think definitely if you come to England, English breakfast is, oh my God, it's like, how did I live without the English breakfast?
How is that? Tell us, what is the traditional? Explain.
I
What is?
love it. I kind of eat the simple way, but English breakfast is simple. It's like tomato, grilled tomato, mushroom, which I absolutely love, baked beans. It's like amazing. I love baked beans. It's a lot of sugar, but and then you have the sausage and the egg, and then you got the toast, and then you have the ash brownie, and there is another one which is made with blood, so I don't eat that one. But in the morning, really, sometimes you can have that, and then you don't need lunch, because I just love it. Really, when I see an English breakfast, I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's just, I love it. I really love it. And when I went back to Italy and I cooked it to my sister, because in Italy for breakfast we eat biscuit and milk most of the time, and she was like, Deborah, that's lunch. So she just couldn't digest that. She said, are you mental, having egg and sausage and that for breakfast? It's like she kind of like make it, like visualize it in her mind. It's crazy for her. But as an Italian, I
Yeah, it
absolutely,
sounds like a heavy meal.
yeah, it is quite heavy, but again, it's very healthy, very, very healthy, because it depends how you cook it. Of course, if you fried everything, but you got grilled tomato, grilled mushroom, you got the egg, and it depends. It cooked in a nice way can be quite healthy, and it gives a lot of proteins as well.
Yeah, and for example, is it true that people drink tea all the time, especially
Yes,
at 5? Is it true?
yeah, there is the tradition of English tea. When I worked in a restaurant, we had to do we did English tea, and it's really lovely because it comes, it's served on with sandwiches. They do with sandwiches, or like savory with the tea, and then you got the biscuit, you got the scone. I absolutely adore the scones, but without the raisins. And so people drink a lot of tea. And I remember my neighbor one day, she knocked on my door, and she said, Deborah, I finished the tea. Have you got a tea? And a tea bag. And I was like, I don't have tea in my house. Like I didn't have it. I have green tea. And she was like, she was mental, because she said, I don't know the shop. I don't know if it was locked down or something. I don't know what it was. She didn't have the tea, and she ran out, and she was desperate to get tea. And I was like, I don't even have tea. But then since that day, actually, I started to buy tea. But do you know what I use it for? I actually freeze it and I put it in my eyes for the dark circle.
Yeah. Not for drinking. So you don't like tea? So you know that they drink a lot, but you don't like it?
No, no, no. I love it. To be honest, I think because in Italy we have the tea with the lemon. So
Oh,
when I came here, I was like, tea and milk. It was the weirdest things I could ever think of. And actually, I love it now. Tea, very weak. So like here they call it builder's tea when it's very strong. So if you leave the tea bag for a long time and you put a little bit of milk, they call it builder's tea because it's really dark and, you know, but I like it very milky with one sugar. But I try not to drink too many because it makes your teeth yellow. Because, you know, tea really
oh,
colors, it really discolor because it's like, look at the cups. When you drink a tea, the cups is black. So that's
yeah.
why, that's
What is
the
the more
only
popular flavor? What is the more popular flavor or style of tea in England?
Earl Grey. Earl Grey for sure. I love Earl Grey. I don't have it all the time, but it's got a really weird taste. I don't know. It's kind of, you drink it and I don't know, you feel, and just the name as well, Earl Grey. I mean, I drink it and I feel posh. I feel like, oh, you know, something. I love Earl Grey. I really love it.
And talking about lifestyle, how the people in England have fun? What things they like to do? What is the lifestyle?
This is another things I love about this country. English people can have fun anywhere. It's like, again, in Italy, you need a proper party, you need an occasion, you need this and that. But English people, there is a sunny day in London. I mean, again, I talk about London. There is a sunny day in London, and people put a bikini and go in the park. It's like, you know, they have a party out, you know, outside a shop. You know, they gather outside a shop, they gather outside a pub, and they're kind of not complicated. And of course, fun for English, I mean, they love drinking beers, you know, football and things. They love to gather in the park. So when it's sunny in London, the park becomes a beach. Like seriously, it's like you are in a beach, like with the sunshine and everything. It's insane.
And
So
and
yeah.
talking about customs and traditions, something that you know you think, oh, it's interesting. Custom traditions in London.
Um, I mean, one of the thing is people always queue. Like in Italy, we amass, like we don't have a queue. It's like you buy a ticket, one on top of each other, you know, or like I traveled to some Middle Eastern country, like everybody basically is trying to get like the ticket. But in England, it's a proper queue, like for everything, for the bus stop, to get to the bus, to get to wherever you go, there is like a proper queue. If you don't respect the queue, it's like, it's a crime. It's like, no, you gotta respect the queue. It's like in the underground, everybody sit on the right. Like you stand on the right, and because people on the left go up and down the escalator. And if you actually stand on the left, people are gonna go, excuse me, because there is the rules, you know. So
They follow the rules. And for example, people really love the monarchy, or you know the royals that they are love. Or how do you see this thing? Because you know people who are from another type of well, another politics, we don't have a queen, we don't all the stuff. So tell us something about how people love to have all this stuff. Or
oh my
what is
God, I
your
mean, I don't follow the monarchy very much. There is a lot of gossip around the monarchy. Of course, I um, I mean, the British are, of course, loving, adoring their queen. They're, you know, supporting it, and it's like it's really important. So they're really, really attached to the queen, and I think it's really beautiful to see in that sense, right? But I personally am not really, you know, I'm not like a massive fan. I know she's there, I know it's important, but it's really embedded, and I think this is a lot of like the attraction for the tourism, you know, the kind of attraction to English culture, because there's not many countries in the world that still have a monarchy,
and the
right?
power that this woman has, you know,
Yeah,
I think it's one of the most powerful
Yeah,
woman in monarchy. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's the thing, because also think about it, like monarchy is so old, and if you think about, you know, all the kings and the queens that they are coming from them, you know, it's just such a beautiful history. Like, you know, you're a president and you're somebody, you're elected, you know, but here we're talking about the same, you know, like
It's all
bloodline.
tradition. It's part of
Yeah,
that tradition.
and it's
Okay.
I think it's very, very attractive. I mean, there is so much like marketing, and you know, like the main attraction, I think, really in England for tourists, you go in London, everything is about the queen, you know, the cups with the queen, the cups with Diana, you know, like remembering her, the cups with the Prince William, and you know, like the marriages. So it's a big thing. But I'm not completely caught on it, but it's nice to see it, it's nice to experience it. And yeah, so
It's part
that
of the culture. Okay, we need to hurry up because
yeah,
I have more
absolutely.
questions for you. So it's a safe country for women
I
to
would
live?
say yes. I would say absolutely yes. Again, you know, you can't generalize, but I've traveled in 55 countries all over the world, and there were countries where I didn't feel really safe. But you know, depending which area you goes, but in mostly it's, you know, I feel safe. I do feel
Okay.
safe here.
And the accommodations, I know, and it's very London is very famous for being extremely expensive. Everybody say that. So, for example, a small place in a zone that is not fancy but not so low, how much it's for the accommodation, the rent?
I
Give us,
mean,
do you have an idea?
yeah, people think it's expensive, but again, what is good about England, you got a choice. So especially now with the Airbnb, you can hire an apartment for $80 or something like that. So Airbnb is really giving a lot of like different opportunities. But for a room in a hotel, maybe one night, it would be like, I don't know, anything from 100 to $150.
But talking about living there, to live there,
Ah, to
how
live,
much?
okay.
Yeah, to live.
I mean, rent is quite high. Like if you're talking about, for example, Spain, I have a friend of mine, she's renting a villa in Spain, and you know, with what somebody's paying here for one bedroom flat, for one room, right? So rent is quite expensive, especially in London. But I know that as you go outside, so a rent, like renting a room could be 150 pounds per week, something like that. And it depends on the size of the room. Again, I rent a room ages ago because I own a flat now. So I don't know the prices, but yeah, probably it's about that amount of money. And again, you can find the cheapest way to the most expensive. That's what it is, because London in England, there is a lot of variety. So from the people that doesn't have any money to the person that has a lot of money. So
But in general, it's a very expensive city compared to another cities in Europe. It's like everybody say.
yeah, I mean, London,
No?
I know that Norway, Oslo, I think Oslo is one of the most expensive European city. I think that's what I've heard. I've never been to Oslo, but I know some
Yeah,
people went.
the Nordic countries, yes, you're right. They're more
They're very
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah, but England, the most famous, England is more expensive
Yeah, but I
than
think
others.
as a tourist, Lizette, because once you live here, you realize that you can find your way around lots of things. So as a
And the
tourist,
weather, for example, it's famous for being rainy and kind
it's
of muggy, kind of cloudy, all this stuff. But tell us the weather. How's the weather?
the weather is, yeah, it's very gray. I don't see the stars, and I really miss the stars because I grew up in a countryside, and I see the stars every night, even in the winter, you know, every time. But well, not so much in the winter, but definitely, you know, the weather. But you kind of get used to it. And the funny thing is that I don't feel the cold as much here because the houses are not cold. Like when I
Mm.
go to Italy in the winter, I feel colder in Italy than in England because the houses are made of brick, and they have tiles, you know, like porcelain, like ceramic, and it's so cold. But the houses here are made in a way that actually my house is, I go with shorts even in the winter in my house. So
Mm. Yeah, I have that all the conditions to
yeah.
stay to keep warm. And if the people are moving to London, what places, what tourist places they should they visit first when they
Right.
are arriving?
So definitely Camden Town. It's one of a crazy market. There's a lot of punk, a lot of life, you know, young people, but it has a lot of life. There is a lot of, it's a market is incredible. There's a lot of people that, you know, sell their own craft. So it's just incredible. Um, Tower Bridge, of course, the bridge that opens is absolutely amazing. Another place that I love is the Shard. It's just a building, but it's been about 10 years old. It's just a building that is like kind of a triangle, but it has an amazing view and amazing restaurants at the top. Um, the parks. I mean, what I love about London is that like New York has got one park, like Center Park, but London has a park every corner, and they're all beautifully kept. Really, I mean, like St James Park and Green, they're beautiful. Regent's Park, so definitely visit some London parks as well.
Wow. And for example, your speaking of immigration regulations, what is your status? Are you citizen, resident, or?
Because I'm Italian, I don't have a British passport, and I want to keep my Italian passport. So
Oh, okay.
you know, a lot of my friends, especially after Brexit, they became British, but I think I'm okay with staying Italian if they allow me to stay here, which they did because now we have Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
So I can stay here. I don't have to go. I have my kids are British.
Oh,
My
great.
children are, three of them have British passport. So, you know, I have a house here, so you know, I don't need a British passport myself. My kids have it. I have a house here. Um, so yeah, this is just how it is. But of course, now with Brexit, things are much more complicated.
Yeah, I heard that. So, well, just I was curious to know a little
Yeah.
bit about it. And talking about that you're very successful, you're a speaker, you have your two companies. What is the recipe of your success? You live in a very competitive country. You know, it's not easy. I think it's not easy for everybody to succeed. And in your case, you have done it. So tell us, what is the recipe of your success?
I have a lot of ingredients, but I'm just going to let my intuition guide me to the first one, which is actually linked to my intuition. Um, I don't wait, Lizette. So I am a very action woman. I started my business. I haven't even finished my qualification when I started my business. I was already charging, I was already selling, I had already clients. I had no idea what I was doing. Don't wait that everything is ready before you go out. And like people are looking, once my website is ready, I'm going to start. Once my book is finished, like, you know, this is my book that I published not long ago. And I just wanted to write it. And one day I was like, you know, oh, you need this. I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So I don't wait. And that is one of the most important things. And I always listen to the whisper. Like my intuition tells me, okay, connect to that person, do that. And I challenge myself. So I take the most uncomfortable steps because that's how, you know, people that are always at the same level say, oh, yes, okay, I'm posting, I'm creating that because it feels comfortable. But when it feels comfortable, I'm like, no, I need to do a little bit extra to feel that, you know, that thing. And then yeah, I do it. And also another things I want to say, you just, yeah, you just gotta really go, keep going. And I fell many times, I failed many times. I sold stuff that didn't, I mean, I put things out that didn't sell. I just pick up the pieces and moved on.
Okay, and any website or Facebook group that you recommend for people who are moving to London? Something that you think it is useful?
I'm not sure. I don't have it on the top of my mind, Lisa, to be honest. But oh yes, there is obviously there is a website called Visit London. I think it's visitlondon.com or something like that. So it has a lot of information. Time Out is absolutely amazing if you want to know what's going on in London, because now it's called closed, but London has an event every second.
Oh, yes.
And many are free. So definitely when you come, check Visit London, check Time Out. And yeah, you just need to get the best of everything. So yes.
Okay, and last question, something you want to say and to finish this episode, something that you want to share with the audience?
I just want to say a very little things that I did say before. Don't wait. And one of my most powerful sentence is this: tomorrow is too late.
Tomorrow is too late. Wow, love it, Debora.
Absolutely, for me, is tomorrow you cannot be on this earth anymore.
Especially now in these challenging times.
So waiting is a waste of time. You just gotta do it. Tomorrow is too late. As simple as that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Debora, for your time. Thank you for being here in
Thanks to you,
Women
Lisa.
Abroad. So
this was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Visit our website www.welum.com section Women Inspire. And don't miss our next episode.